Biafra, superstars, media.
My people, all set to go. Seyi Tinubu for governor of the Lagos. Hey, to the Yorubas, we told you, the evils are not your problem. The earlier you free yourself from Nigeria, the better. From 1999 to 2014, that was 25 years, ruled by a family. 25 years of leadership. Lagos being owned by a family. To the Yorubas, Afonjas, are you ready for another 25 years or more? Seyi Tinubu for governor. Nigeria is a movie. We go dey watch una from afar. When the Biafran don't go, we go dey watch una from afar. My people, make una enjoy this one. Lakurawa, Lakurawa, they are back. And now, Rufai Oseni is crying about Seyi Tinubu and the rest of them being governor of Lagos State. It is time to smell the coffee. If you're ready, let's go there. Listen.
Bro, good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Couple of stories. There's a group called, I think it's Coalition of Youth Leaders, that are endorsing Seyi Tinubu for governor. So I'm asking, is it that father and governor now? Father president and son governor? Is that the steez we want to be playing in Nigeria now? You know, because I've been hearing of that conversation until that coalition group came out to endorse Seyi Tinubu for governor of Lagos. So what's really going on? Is it that this hierarchy and hegemony is looking completely? Is it that it is with recourse to nothing? Is it that only one person that knows how to play this political game more than the others? What nation are we building? The optics look bad. It looks very bad. I am not saying it doesn't have the right to run for governor and everything, but because of the ties he has. But on the contrary, what am I going to say when the sons of other political figures are here and there in political position? Not Oshomale's son that they quickly made a commissioner in the district. So if your father has no name in this country,
Forget about it.
You left to the devices. Is that what the country we're trying to build? Because this is the President Tinubu that is saying it's going to be an inclusive country. Everybody will have to come together. No region can develop what not another region. But you look at it. Has there been a level playing field? The governance? Lagos? I mean, these are the questions we should ask. Old, I will speak truth to power. Like I said before, the optics looks very bad. But what am I going to say? When cronies of the president like MC Oluomo is getting the national president of the AURTW and all of that, some will say, oh, he's going to talk to a union leader for a while. But does the optics look good at all? Another thing going on is there's a great infighting going on.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm once again happy, to make your acquaintance today. I want us to reason together, to interact. Let's talk about what is happening in this dungeon called Nigeria. Yes, I know we are all looking forward to, the 2nd December 2024, which is fast approaching. That is the date that our able Prime Minister, His Excellency Simon Ekpa, has, decided and is working towards inaugurating the United States of Biafra. So 2nd December is sacrosanct in our minds. But while on it, we must equally begin to highlight some of the things that are happening in this, zoo country, in this rat race country, in this country of extreme violence and criminality. I mean, where kidnapping and extortion and bad governance is reigning supreme. Yes, I want to talk. Let's talk about the Lakurawa, the Lakurawa, terrorist group. Lakurawa. Who doesn't know it? I hope you all know what Lakurawa is. Lakurawa is the latest terrorist group, that have made, the north and almost every part of Nigeria highly ungovernable. These are people for whom, killing, maiming, raping, destroying, burning villages, and, you know, uh, extorting people, kidnapping. For them is just a minor thing, is a way of life. The Lakurawa. Lakurawa is now the latest terrorist group that has taken over the Boko Harams of this world. In fact, somebody told me what Lakurawa is a far cry from what Boko Haram could ever have thought it could be. Because Boko Haram, when it started, they came up and said, we don't want anything to do with Western religion. We don't want anything to do, with book, with education. It has to be strictly Sharia. It has to be strictly Muslim. It has to be strictly everything about Sharia. We don't want no book. We're not going to study in any Western schools. We're not going to push our children there. So unfortunately, they continue to have their majority system where these children didn't go to school, where they frustrated every effort to bring enlightenment to their people. All they were doing was violence here and there, kidnapping here and there, killings here and there, and they made did not totally, in fact, almost every part of Nigeria, back to back for the past 20 years or so, they've made governance a terrible misadventure for the zoo called Nigeria. Now, this Lakurawa, in fact, when they came out newly, they were once called the harmless herders. I mean, they were called harmless herders. They were taught as nomadic Fulanis. I mean, people who could move their cattle to anywhere, anywhere and everywhere. That they didn't want violence. They had nothing to do with violence. But today, the smoke screen has been uncovered. Today, the truth has been revealed. These are people for whom extreme violence, extreme wickedness, killings, and kidnappings and extortions are synonymous with. Let's talk about the Lakurawas. Then I'll tell you how brave, how our intelligent and brave Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, how he was very vehemently opposed to this group, how he started early screaming and shouting to high heavens that look, they're here again. They're here. Don't be misled. Don't be misled. These people are not cattle rearers alone. They are not just nomadic Fulanis. These people have a motive. Their motive is to Islamize you. Their motive is to maim and kill you. Their motive is to take over your lands, take over your regions, and foist all kinds of violence on you. That was what our able, resilient, indefatigable Prime Minister, His Excellency Simon Ekpa had always cried all along, as if he had the prophetic eyes, as if he was seeing what we are not seeing. But let's look at this Lakurawa group, Lakurawa that a lot of people are saying, harmless Fulani Katoriaras, nomadic in nature. It is their nature to move all around. In fact, even our governor, the governors in the southeast, especially Hope Uzodinma, called them a harmless group. Told us, look, you can come and take lands in my community, in Owerri. You can come to Olu and take lands. Build your cattle ranch there. Come there, I'll give you lands. Which our able Prime Minister, our maximum leader, nnamdi Kanu, and everybody who was interested in everything Biafra and the sovereignty of Biafra, they called out loud and they created the awareness. My people, don't listen to this man. Don't let Hope Uzodinma deceive you. These people are not harmless. They are not simple. These guys are mercenaries. These guys will be worse than Boko Haram. That was what we were told. A lot of people didn't know this. Today, the secret has been exposed. Today, the light has dawned. It has dawned on people. Look, these people who came pretending to be cattle rearers, pretending to be harmless, complete murderers, wicked Islamists, jihadists, who were hiding under the cloak of Fulani herdsmen to enter our communities, kill our people, burn our villages, take our crops, seize our crops, rape our women, and destroy everything we hold, sacrosanct. So, ladies and gentlemen, my audio for this morning will be about this terrorist group which has come out and is on the verge of destroying everything remaining in the zoo called Northern Nigeria, called Nigeria. Yes, you're welcome on board. Let's x-ray some of the activities. Let's look at who they are. Let's determine ourselves whether our able prime minister, our maximum leader, were right in warning us. Warning us. Otherwise, we could have been victims today. We could have been victims, and we could have been sorry. So you're all welcome. Good morning once again. Hope you're all doing good. Hope you're looking forward to 2nd December 2024. Hope we're all warming towards it. Yes, because like we keep saying, there's no going back. Yes, the die is cast. Yes, the odds are for us. Yes, our Prime Minister, able Prime Minister, is spreading the message everywhere. He has reached a lot of people, including the President-elect of the United States of America, the 45th President, who will now become the 47th president. Our able prime minister is discussing with him, creating the awareness, and making sure that 2nd December 2024 is a date to keep, is a date to look forward to, in Jesus' name. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move from here. Thank you. The Lakurawa terrorist group, once called harmless headers, now a deadly terror group in northwest Nigeria. They were once called harmless headers, cattle headers, but now a deadly terror group in northwest Nigeria, Lakurawa. Contrary to official reports, Lakurawa first arrived in the Gudu and Tangaza areas of Sokoto 6 years ago, following calls, for self-help by some members of the communities. The members of those communities were actually the ones who were calling for them, looking for a sort of vigilante group, looking for self-help to help them, help their communities, protect them from arsonists, protect them from jihadists, protect them from Boko Haram, protect them from insurgents who were coming to their farms, taking over, destroying their land. And so they sent SOS messages to these people, say, please come and help us, believing that they were in good hands, believing that they were moving into peaceful hands. Little did they know that it would be a jump from fire to the fry pan, or from the fry pan to the fire, depending on how you want to look at it. So let's continue. The Lakurawa first arrived in the Gudu and Tangaza areas of Sokoto 6 years ago. Yes, following calls for self-help by some members of the communities. Yes. Yes, silhouettes of people with guns against the twilight sky with traces of light and watermark. Yes. About 6 years ago, locals in Tangaza and Gudu areas of Sokoto raised an alarm over the suspicious activities of a group of herders operating in the Marake and Shuani forests. A police investigation at the time concluded that the armed group, known locally as Lakurawa, were merely herders and not violent. Although the police suspected the group was heavily armed, they disguised them as seasoned visitors from the neighboring Niger Republic. The official narrative by the then police commissioner, Murtala Mani, after engaging with traditional and religious leaders in the affected area, was that the herders had left with their families, cattle, camels, and donkeys. Earlier this week, however, the Nigerian Defense Headquarters declared the so-called herders are a new terror group affiliated with jihadists in the Sahel, a region that accounts for sizable chunks of global terrorism and deaths. The terrorists took advantage of the gaps in cooperation between both countries and exploited the difficult terrains to make incursions in remote areas in some northwestern states to spread their ideology, said Edward Buba, the Director of Defense Media Operations. The military therefore declared 9 members of the group wanted. They are Abu Khadija, Abdurrahman, Daddy Gumba, also known as Abu Muhammad, Usman Shehu, Abu Yusuf, Musa Wa, Ibrahim Suyeka, Ba Sulihu, and Idris Taklakse. Now the police have claimed that the terrorist group operates in areas like Tangaza, Gudu, Ilela, Binji, and Silame, and is believed to have entered the border communities from countries like Niger, Chad, and Mali. The terrorists preach in local Hausa and Fulfode languages, imposing rules and levies on communities, residents, and sometimes they help locals fight other terrorist groups operating in their territory to gain absolute control and wider influence. Following their incursion about 6 years ago, the roving Lakurawa criminal organization established camps, which it called Darul Islam, around the Gwangwano, Mulawa, Vasanea, and Tunigara areas along Nigerian-Niger border areas. The sect has grown from less than 50 members to over 200, with young men aged 18 to 35. It embraces unorthodox practices and esoteric interpretations of the Quran. A study by Murtala Ahmed Rufai, a professor at the Usmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto, noted that followers of the sect have a similar pattern of religious separatism with any other radical Islamic movements. The group claims ideological purity and avoids contact with the rest of the society. The Lakurawas, use arms to intimidate and harass locals under the pretext of enforcing Sharia in the affected areas. Who are the Lakurawas? The Lakurawas were headers who suddenly turned militant in the wake of the Malian crisis. Their presence in the communities along the Nigeria-Niger border in Gudu and Tangaza areas of Sokoto goes beyond the search for food and water for their cattle, which they had been doing for years. Around October 2018, about 200 jihadists arrived in the Gudu and Tangaza areas of Sokoto from across the border in Niger. Locals say they are headers, light-skinned, speaking Arabic and Fulfode language from Mali. In case you don't know, Fulfode is the Fulani language. Excuse me. A poster with photographs and names of 9 wanted terrorists. Contact information provided at the top. When they came in, like they said, the headers light-skinned, speaking Arabic and Fulfode languages from Mali. Yes. Initially, they are seen as a necessary evil, invited by local authorities in the areas to stem the tide of the raging violence blowing over their heads. For nearly a decade now, the northwestern region has been a haven for rural terrorists. They've emptied villages and driven farmers from their farms, controlled a thriving kidnap for ransom enterprise that has disrupted the livelihood of the largely farming communities, impoverished communities across the region. The people of Wasanea, Tabaringa, Mulawa, and Jina were not exempted. In the rural communities of the region where these terrorists hold sway, as there is little to no government presence. Most of the time, they are left at the mercy of the marauding terrorists. Therefore, some traditional authorities in these areas invited the Lakurawas to provide security to our communities, so they thought. District head of Bale in Gudu local government, together with the district head of Gongono in Tangaza local government, met with Alhaji Bello Wamako, the then chairman of Miyeti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, MAGBAN, and discussed how to tackle Zamfara bandits. Zamfarawa bandits, how to tackle Zamfarawa, otherwise known as bandits. They finally reached the conclusion to hire Lakurawa from Mali in order to deal with Zamfarawa bandits. This was the first effort. I myself told Bello Wamako that this was not a good effort. The study cited one local authority as saying, excuse me, in an interview with the Tribune newspaper in 2018, a resident of Tangaza, Alhaji Aminu Diko Tangaza, corroborated Rufai's research here. According to him, contrary to the police report, only a few members of the group were actually invited to protect the communities against banditry, but they later mobilized other members of their group to terrorize and introduce strange laws in the communities. Though the traditional rulers in Bale, the Lakurawa, through the traditional rulers in Bale, the Lakurawa requested funds to buy weapons for the newly recruited members, and money was given to them. One resident, excuse me, one resident who spoke to Daily Trust said some members of the group were invited to rescue a kidnapped victim. The locals were initially happy with their coming because of the way they sacked bandits in their communities, but their refusal to consult their leaders and hand over recovered cattle, as well as the way they were forcing people to give out animals as zakat, which they used to take to their countries, made us suspicious and decided to report the matter to constitutional authorities, the local added. Interviewed for Rufai's study, Magajin Bale, a village chief, said, I didn't invite nor attend the meeting with the Lakurawa, but the district head was in attendance because the invitation was done on his insistence. They solicited for support in cash, cows, logistics, and weapons for both their invited Lakurawa guests and their newly recruited youth in the communities to fight the ravaging Zamfarawa bandits. My advice to them then was not to allow their children to participate in this dirty job. That is why few youths were recruited from Bale town. The relationship soured. It soured when the group accused Mukhtar, son of the district head and chief treasurer of the group, which had died in a fire incident, of misappropriating about 63 million naira belonging to them. According to sources, the first major attack by the Lakurawas was recorded on August 10th when they attacked a military base in Sokoto, killing 3 soldiers and setting a Hilux vehicle on fire. The group's present mode of attack is on the government security forces, armed vigilantes, and the armed terrorists. They mostly spare civilians, conscripting them to obey radical Islamist beliefs, what they define as God's laws. Upon invitation, they seem to have protected ungovernable communities, desperate to get security. The armed gang would later get to Gande and Getarana in Silami local government. Many Lakurawa fighters are seen in communities like Raka, Gudu, Silami, Lambishani, Mada, preaching to the civilian population of the areas to pay and give alms, zakat, and obey the laws based on their ideological principles. Yes. Locals in some of the above-mentioned communities who saw the deadly firepower the group possessed and described them as extremely dangerous. Yes. Shehu Makeri, one of the deposed monarchs in Tangaza, told our reporter that the first time we suspected Lakurawa's fearful movements and infiltration of the group from Mali and Libya into our areas We told the government and the security authorities about the situation. They, Lakurawas, imposed laws on our communities and lured us with protection against bandits' attacks. The ideological armed gang settles in Sauni Forest with their logistic facilities. Mm. The chairman of the Tangaza local government, Isaiah Salihu Kelenjeni, who spoke to, our researcher said, we suspect that these groups are about 300, splitting across Ilela, Tangaza, Gudu, Silami, and Binji forest areas. They frequently visit our villages, meeting rural people dressed in Muslim attire, sometimes with turban, visiting mosque. Our fear is that they are planning to take over our redundant youths, luring them into their criminal activities. It's a growing threat. It's a growing threat, a very big threat, a very big threat. The presence of the group underscores a huge gap in Nigeria's security governance, especially in rural areas, and by extension, border communities where movement across the country's national border is as easy as falling off a log. It also exposes the erosion of trust among locals in the government's ability to secure their lives and properties. The Lakurawa's activities have since spiraled out of local control. The group preached in public places, imposed levies on herders under the guise of zakat, and flogged villagers for playing music or dancing and chasing them for un-Islamic activities, chastising them for un-Islamic activities. In his paper titled Jihadization of Banditry, James Barnett, a conflict and humanitarian crisis researcher, noted that members of the group conducted several attacks on local security forces, including an attack on a military base, a situation that prompted a joint military operation between the Nigerian military and their Nigerian counterparts to carry out an offensive against them. Although they desisted from conducting any more attacks, locals say they still saw members of the groups in the areas after the military operations. The re-emergence of the group, analysts say, is linked to the coup in the neighboring Niger Republic, which disrupted joint military patrol along the border between Nigeria and Niger. Before they left after the offensive, they'd already indoctrinated some residents. In fact, the authorities did not even know that they had indoctrinated some of the locals who were left behind, while some stayed in the forest around Tangaza and laid low. The absence of a joint border patrol since the military took over in Niger have actually given them free access. The group has been in that area since 2018. Most people in that area are aware of the group's existence for a long time now. A source similar with the situation in the Axis told, our source, our researcher, he asked, even though he asked not to be named due to perceived security risks. Yes, stirring the pot. The northwestern region has been a hotbed of criminal gangs for years in Nigeria. Jihadist groups like Ansaru have also been able to stamp their foot. The region shares a long porous border with the Republic of Niger, where the Al-Qaeda linked JNIM and the Islamic State in Greater Sahara, ISGS, operate. The border with the Benin Republic in Kebbi State also offers a corridor for Sahelian terrorists, mostly as a logistics route for our base. Its vast forests provide buffers for terrorists and are very likely vulnerable, to house jihadists fleeing military offensive in neighboring jihadi-infested countries. With large swathes of ungoverned spaces and limited government presence across the areas, analysts are quick to point out that the region is fast becoming a ticking time bomb, especially with the influx of jihadists from the Sahel, a situation that's likely to exacerbate the country's already fragile security situation, particularly in the northern region. paints the security challenges in the region with a convenient tag of banditry. Emerging leads, including the reemergence of Lakurawa, point to the fact that banditry does not properly capture the realities on the ground. Samuel noted, adding that ascribing every attack in the region to bandits provides the perfect cover for Islamic terror groups like the Lakurawa to infiltrate the region undetected, making it strategically difficult uh, to deploy the right responses. The security analyst believes that the group's operations will further put a strain on the livelihood of local communities who have already been at the receiving end of terrorist attacks on their homes for more than a decade now. All these groups operating in the region need resources for their operations, and the first target, as seen in the Northeast, are always civilians. Illegal taxations, extortion, kidnapping, raids, etc. are all tactics these groups deploy to shore up their resources, tightening the noose around their necks. He said, tightening the noose around their necks. He said there are millions of ordinary people affected by conflict in Africa whose stories are missing in the mainstream media. uh, our source said is determined to tell those challenging and underreported stories, hoping that the people impacted by this conflict will find the safety and security they deserve. Yes, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story, that's the history of the Lakurawa people. That is how they started. Initially, from what we have gathered here, from what our experts have told us, they were a combined group of Nigerian vigilante groups, borderline vigilante groups. But because of the coup in Niger Republic that have foisted a new government, a new military head of state, it's completely, that vigilante cross-border uh, uh, cross-border activities between Nigeria and Niger stopped arbitrarily because, of course, the military did not support it anymore. They were military head of state, and Nigeria was a civilian head of state. There was no such combined efforts anymore. So that place, it left a lacuna, of course. It created the gap. And this Nigerian insurgents coming in from Nigerian border with Nigeria, coming in from Mali, coming in from Chad, they took up the occasion and, strolled, into this country, strolled through the northern borders that are very porous, came in pretending to be, headsmen, Fulani headsmen. Of course, they can speak the Fulani language, which is called Fufude. Fufude. That's what they speak. And so, they entered and they continued to move from there. People were deceived. People thought them, to be just normal people, nomadic cattle rearers, and when they decided to meet with Cattle Breeders Association, the Mayati Allah, the cattle group, everybody thought they meant well. These are people who started going from one community, they moved from the north, they were moving to the southwest, they were moving to the southeast, and they were committing mayhem, killing, terrorizing, kidnapping, burning down villages, killing people's wives, taking their wives, harnessing their children, taking their crops, and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, this same group were the same groups that the man who we have begun to call Umaru Uzodinma, the so-called governor of Imo State, have been welcoming. At one point, he told them, "Come into Imo State. Come, let me give you, place for your cattle. Let me give you ranches." And thank God to, people like our Muslim leader. Thank God for our able Prime Minister, His Excellency um, Simon Epanjoku, who vigorously resisted, clamored, expatiated, told the whole world, revealed the true nature of these people, revealed their true identity, and warned the Imo State government and politicians, people in the Southeast, refrain from, hobnobbing with these people. They will bring to your ruin. Their intentions are jihadists. These people will totally annihilate all you guys from your southeast. They will take over your land, burn you people alive, turn you to their slaves, and make life, totally, totally unbearable for you. It is these very things, it is this very proclamations, these revelations from our able Prime Minister, Simon and Njako, that makes a lot of people, within uninformed people, think he was a bad person, think he was fostering, disunity, he was affecting peace negatively in his outreach. No, but he was shouting, trying to create the awareness. Beware, this lack of beware these people who are strolling in, they're looking like a Desica, they're looking like nomadic people. They are not. These guys are a fraud. These are Islamic jihadists. They're not even Nigerians. Beware. He said it. The governor said, don't mind this man. These people are normal cattle breeders. Bring them. I'll give them ranch. I'll give them lands in Ebola, give them, and of course, the whole Biafran resisted this the very, very, unpalatable gesture from a man who should be, an executive governor of a state who has sold himself. Imagine even in recent times when this same man said he was, using National Open University environment as an IDP camp for refugees from the north. The Igbos, the Imolites, the Imo youths vigorously resisted it and touched the whole area, including the house of the senator who encouraged them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how it is. The Lakurawa group are another very dangerous terrorist group, and they have infiltrated. They have come in. They are not Nigerians. The borders in the north are porous and open. Anything happens. All kinds of arms and ammunition are smuggled from there. All kinds of foods and food crops are smuggled away from Nigeria to that other area. All kinds of cattle. And of course, they are the ones who are sponsoring the jihadization of the country, killing, maiming, rioting, uh, kidnapping, asking for ransoms, mercenaries. That's what they are, and they do it in the guise of religion. Thank God we are not ignorant of their devices. Thank God our able leaders, including our Muslim leader, including our Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, His Excellency, have revealed this to us. They started very early, and that is why today there seems to be some semblance of peace. But of course, the peace is still very, very, very rickety. The peace is still very, very unsure of yet until we get our permanent peace. Permanent peace when we move into the successful declaration of the United States of Biafra come 2nd December 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, like I keep saying, every audio here is to impact us, is to give us, create the awareness, is to give us the enablement, to create the knowledge, so that with that knowledge, you can begin to appreciate the reason why we're looking forward to the United States of Biafra, where we can have a sane environment, where we can have a secure environment, where our votes will count, where our people will live, happily without any molestation, without any terrorization, where, of course, you can practice your religion without any fear or favor. We don't want jihadists among us. We don't want people, terrorists who disguise as headsmen, who are killers, murderers, and terrorists. No, the United States of Biafra, in the United States of Biafra, there will be zero tolerance for this jihadists, for this kind of sellouts, for people who come pretending to be, lambs, but they are terrible, terrible lions and, foxes in right, in disguise. So I welcome you all to, this broadcast. I hope we'll interact, we'll learn from it. I hope we'll begin to appreciate the efforts of our, leaders, especially our able Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, who has sworn, dedicated his life to the sovereignty, growth, and development of the United States of Biafra. Ladies and gentlemen, 2nd December 2024 is around the corner. Looking forward to making more audios. Looking forward to interacting with you. Looking forward to your prayers. Looking forward to your dedicated approach. Looking forward to all of us putting our hands on deck to propel, to motivate, and to urge on positively. The great mind, our indefatigable Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa Joko, on his quest to achieve this very formidable, this sovereign state of Biafra, United States of Biafra. It's going to happen. It is already happening. The odds are right. The odds favor it. All hands must be on deck. We are going to win. We will win. We will win. We have won. We will win. We are the children of God. We are the Jews. We will win. We will win. We will achieve the United States, a sovereign United States of Biafra. God bless you all as we look forward to another, audio. God bless you. Have a great day. Thanks and bye.
Yeah, check me out. Superstars Media. Lord Logan, but let me turn Lord Logan. And it's why Flora show 1914 amalgamation is what we dying for. 3 nations to 1 nation. Ever since annihilation, nepotism is nonsense. You and you, clap your hands. Biafra gonna come, clap your hands. Biafra, Oduduwa, we're free now. Freedom is gonna come, we're free now. Yeah.